Okay, well, hi everyone. Thank you very much for watching. It's William Hartree here today with another episode of the Simply Inspired podcast. And today I'm joined by a very special guest. I'm very honored that this man is taking the time. Today's guest, Vinnie Bradish, who back in the day was one of the UK's most notorious robbers. Today we're going to be talking about his transition from that lifestyle into the lifestyle he's living today. We're going to be sharing some tips and advice for the youth, maybe who are caught up in a lifestyle, how they can make some changes. We're going to be talking a little bit about his mentality then and now. Now, this interview today, guys, it is going to be short and sweet, but there is going to be some great value in there that I hope helps some of you, the listeners. And I've got to say, mate, thank you very much for making the time for this. I know you don't do many of these now, so I'm really grateful that you have made the time for this evening. By the way, thank you.
You're welcome, Liam. You're welcome.
Yeah, well, I do mean that. I do mean that. So, okay, so one of the things I'm going to touch on with yourself, mate, is obviously your life now in 2023 is very different than how it used to be back in the day. And although some people start from the beginning, to show the transition in your life, if you get what I mean, I'm actually going to start with the present day.
Okay.
Can you share with us anything that you feel comfortable sharing about some of the work you're doing now in 2023 and a little bit about what your life is like post prison and post everything you've been through, if that makes sense? Let's
Mm.
start there, please.
Well, at the moment, I'm working as a carpenter, and I do decorating as well, and a bit of tiling, and that's how I earn most of my money most of the time. And I don't. Sometimes I get the work is a bit busy, and I have a few days off. It's not every day that I'm working, and but I'm happy doing the work. I like doing it. So I enjoy working for the customers, and I have a good chat with them, and I see the satisfaction. They're all happy when I've done some work in their house. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, that's really good to give people a little feel for your life today. Now, another couple of things I'd like to touch on. Obviously, now in a minute we'll go back and we'll talk about your life as it used to be, from a certain perspective only, from a relevant perspective. But obviously, yeah, you've been through a lot in your life. I mean, a lot of time in prison. I'm just going to say how it is, and a lot of things like that. If there are youngsters out there who are caught up in some of the type of thing that you used to be involved with, and they're like, like if you're talking to a younger version of yourself, if you get what I mean. I'd like to take this opportunity to give a couple of pieces of advice um, about things they can do to sort of change their circumstances, if you get what I'm going. Now, some people will do this at the end of the call, but I'm gonna just put this straight across because, like I said to you before, it's a big part of the reason why I wanted to do this is to share some of that advice. So let's get into that topic. I know it's a big question, but let's get into that topic a little bit, please, if that's all right.
Yes. So for any youngsters or kids getting involved in that type of crime, or I don't know whether I can't say if they're going to get in touch in with any type of crime, but for doing robberies and all that stuff, is I wouldn't recommend it to them. I wouldn't recommend it because you don't do anything you don't do anything good with the money. All you do is you get the money. The money comes easy and it goes easy, so it doesn't last. And you're always watching over your back. I was watching over my back all the time. Like when I got up in the morning, I'm looking for the police all day. It's like my job. I'm looking for them and they're looking for me. But I still enjoyed my life at the time. But if I could have got if I could have got a steady job, and if I could have got a steady job, then I wouldn't have been involved in that stuff. Because I've done a bit of carpentry back in the day, but I was always going out to the pubs and abusing alcohol and taking cocaine or whatever. And so my life was in a bit of a mess like that. and so just going on a piss all the time. Go to the gym, get yourself fit and healthy for 2 or 3 days, and then go back doing robberies again. And so I wouldn't recommend it to anyone because you you can achieve the same things with by going to you by going to a job. I wouldn't say a 9 to 5 or whatever. You don't have to do a 9 to 5. You can work for yourself. People only if you can go on a carpentry course or a bricklaying course or any construction course. Like over here in England, we're lucky. Like we can go to college and we can learn anything for free. And even people go to universities. There's other countries in the world you don't get them chances. So you're lucky that you're living in England. Everything is over here. You can get it, and yeah, a person can make it like just by going to work. You come out of work if you're doing a chippy in work and you're coming out with 600, 800 quid a week. If you're not going out on the piss all the time, what are you going to be doing with the money? You just spend your money wisely, and that's my advice for them. Just to keep working. You'll fall into a trap by you're giving the police, you're keeping them in a job, and you're just going around robbing things. And what's going to happen to you? One day you're just going to get shot, or you're just going to end up lifed off in prison. That's no life for no one. Yeah.
So when you look back on your life now, um, basically, if you look at the time that you spent locked up, and then you sort of weigh that against the money that you did make and everything like that, you're basically saying it's not worth it really. If you look, if you've been down that road, the people who are starting down on that road, it's not worth it.
Even when we was in prison, we used to sit around sometimes and we would be talking about it. And it weren't only us. We'd be saying, look, enough of us in here. Um, you could make in the 10 years or 12 years, whatever you're doing in Nick. You could be earning that outside, and you're still staying outside, and you're with your family for all their birthdays and all their Christmases and everything. But no, what do? You want to go and get the money quick, and live life in the fast lane, and showing off your wealth or whatever. It's it's just it's just um it's just stupidness, really. Like,
Yeah, I get where you're coming from. Well, again, mate, thank you very much because that was a big part of the reason I wanted to do this was to put that message across. I mean, when you look back on it now, and you did those 11, 12 years, however long it was, how do you feel now about that time that you can't get back? Because I know when you were doing the robberies, we'll talk about that. You had some good times as well. But if you look at the time that has basically been lost in a sense. How do you feel about that? And I'm asking this with no judgment at all. I'm just curious as to how a person does feel about having a chunk of their life taken, if that makes sense.
how do you feel about this? Well, you're kind of like gutted. Um, your the life outside has been taken away from you, but it's like um, you maybe I don't know. Maybe it's just because we were criminals at the time, so it was all part and parcel. We expected to be getting sentences like that if we ever got caught. Um, I've forgotten now what the question is.
No, I was just thinking when you think back now to that time that you did spend in there, just how you feel about having. Because I mean, obviously, there's a lot of people out there who do have like a year or a year there that they do or whatever.
Yeah, it's frozen.
I mean, I've had
You've cut
people.
off. You've
Oh,
cut
hold
off.
on. Am I back with you?
Yeah, you're back again.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
It's all right.
But yeah, I was just saying, when it's like a long time like that, because I was saying I know people where it's like a year here or a year there, but I've had people on the show where it's like 9 years, 12 years. I think one was 16. I think that was Terry Ellis. You might know him. But how do you feel now when you look back on
Well, you
on a big chunk of
when
time?
you're doing a sentence, like say there's members of your family dying, or so, and you can't go to their funerals, or there's Christmases and all the birthdays and all that. You're missing all that stuff. So everything that you're missing, you can just imagine people how people are. If you was out here and you missed your son's or your daughter's birthday or something, you were gutted that you missed it. You're going to be gutted that you're inside, and it's all the times. Yeah, you're just going to be gutted all the time. But the thing is, you just get on with it, and there's nothing you can do. Like you ain't gonna. There's no point in wallowing in self pity or because you just drag yourself down, and so you just got to keep yourself uplifted, and and that's all you can do. You don't think too much about it. You just say, oh fucking hell, I'm sick of being in this place. Oh, it's just part and parcel of the thing. You can't start saying, "Oh, I'm sick of this life," and if you've been going around robbing banks for years, and when you go in and nick, you can't say, "Oh, you're sick of this life." That's because that's the life you chose. So you have to do the bird, don't you? If you do the crime, you say you got to do the time, and but it's not a good thing if I wouldn't want to be in a young man's shoes now, and they're going into the prison for 5 or 10 years, or it's madness. Because what you're doing, selling a bit of drugs to make a few quid, and then sitting around all day, and you don't have to go to work. It's going to come to a stop one day. You got to stop. You got to stop doing what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's a powerful message because you've been in and you've done it. Another thing that I'd like to touch on here, and I'd like to get into a little bit, is when you were doing the robberies and things. Like I said to you before, I don't know how much you can say about it or not. So this is why I'm asking it from a different point of view. If we look at the mental side, yeah, obviously it takes like a different type of person in a way, not just for the robbery itself, but like for the pressure, that if you get caught, you're getting that time in prison for, like, I don't know if on the build up to a robbery you'd feel nervous, like even when you're actually doing the robbery itself, the adrenaline and some of the things you might feel. I mean, I don't know, but I'm curious to get into how you handled that side of it. I mean, you said earlier about looking over your shoulder and everything like that. Is it something that you condition yourself to deal with over time, like as you go through that life, or how does it work with handling the pressure of that life, if you get what I mean?
The way to handle the pressure, I would go to the gym quite a bit before. When I was doing the robberies, I'd be going training. I was jogging. I, I was doing karate, and I would keep myself fit, and and uh, and that's one way that you'll be dealing with it, of the stress of it all, of the day, and another way you'd just be going to the pub. So it's them two things. You'd just be going training and going to the pub or something like that. And you go do a little bit of shopping, but the shopping don't. It's a different kind of style. If you're letting your hair down, you're going to the pub, and you're staying in the pub for about not 1 or 2 days. So you're in there all night, and then the next day, and so wasn't really feeling the the pressure of wasn't really feeling the pressure. And I think, like you said, I think I was probably a bit conditioned to it because I was been in and out of trouble all my life since I was about 15. So it was nothing new to me getting nicked, and it was like every year I'd been in jail since I was 15. Every year going in for a few months here, a few months there, then longer months, and until I got that big sentence. And so it is like a conditioning you for yourself. It's like sharpening a pencil, I suppose. You just sharpen it. It's a little bit when you're young, you're sharpening the pencil, and as you get older, you sharpen it right up to the point, and you're now committing armed robberies all the time. and but one day it's gonna snap, ain't it? And it snapped for us, but when we was arrested, that was it.
Yeah. Well, it's a brutally honest portrayal of it, to be fair. A couple of other things with that, again, without getting into specifics, because obviously I don't want to say anything that comes back on you, but at the same time, we can still educate people on the day of an actual robbery itself. I mean, when you go in there and actually do it again with the adrenaline side of things, or with basically with the bit that people don't see from hearing about it, right? In terms of what's going through your head, when you're in that fast-paced situation, when you're coming up on it, what is actually going through your head? I mean, I know it's a big question, but again, when I speak to people about this, it's different than what you see on the
Mm.
telly and all that. I mean, people have different methods of coping. So when you're literally about to go in the building or during the robbery itself, what were you mainly focused on at the time?
You're mainly focused on going in there as quick as possible, getting the money, and getting back out. And
Mm.
before you go in, you're watching everything on the streets and making sure there's no old bill around. You're looking for them, and you're looking for them everywhere. You got to look up at buildings, you're looking at the cars, you're looking at the people, anyone acting a bit suspicious,
Mm.
and that's what you're looking for. Uh, yeah, so you're looking for all that all the time, and that's and just get in and out as quick as possible and do the robbery, and that's that. You've been thinking about it for so long. Like the robbery is fairly easy when we was doing it, because we thought about it for so long. You're thinking about it. You're thinking you can go this way. You can think and you go that way. You're planning it all out in your mind, and so when it actually comes down to it, and you've done it so many times, then it's just it was just like I don't know. It was just like walking up the road. In the end, like, because that's how it was. Sometimes you were just walking along the road, walking along the road, and straight into the bank, and come back out and walk off down the road like a customer.
So one other question while we're on this topic, mate. With this, how many robberies are we actually talking about? How many were you actually convicted of in the end?
Um, there was I think there was 52 offences on the indictment, and of robberies and some other charges, and I was convicted of 11. I think it was 11 or 12 robberies. Yeah, but the prosecution was saying that they suspected us of being involved in over 100 armed robberies. Mm,
And one
two
other thing
robberies.
with that, yeah, how long were you actually sentenced to for that in total?
Yeah, 22 years. 22 years for conspiracy to rob. 22 years for conspiracy to possess firearms to run concurrent.
And how
So
long did you serve in the end
20,
of that?
22 years in total. Yeah, and you have to do. I think you have to do about 2/3 of that, or 14 years, or 14 years without parole, and you get 12 years with parole or something like that.
And you did 12 in total, was it?
Just over 11, yeah, just over 11, about 11 and a half years.
And your brother was involved in this. Is he still inside then? Is he still serving?
He's got out now. He's out.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
he
good.
got 7 life sentences, and he just got released recently. So he done nearly 23 years in the nick.
I'm glad to hear he's out of there, mate.
Yeah. At the trial, when we had the trial, we denied all the offences, and the guy turned Queen's evidence against us. So he grassed us all up to save his own skin, and that's it. You know.
Yeah. Well, that's the conditioning again, isn't it? I mean, over time, you get more and more used to it and everything, like a lot of other things in life, I guess. And
Yeah.
obviously, I mean, the money you guys were making and everything like this. I don't know how much you can say, but I've heard these stories, when I was getting ready for this call with you about like some of the crazy parties and some of the things you got up to. And I don't know how much you can say about that, but when you have got that money to spend, can you share with us a little bit about like well, what you would do with some of it in terms of the parties and in terms of some of the lifestyle that people seem to admire? Because I'm sure with that bit, you had a bit of fun, even though it caught up with you in the end, and hear about one or two of the fun times. I mean, there's probably so many, but if we narrow it down to one or two, for just to give people an idea, that would be cool as well, please, mate.
What do you want to hear about? How we spent the money.
Well, not all of it, because I don't know how much you can say about that. But in terms of like, I'd imagine you had some wild parties and things. Just that side of it, to be
Yeah,
fair, because I've heard
there,
stories about that.
there were so many parties that I've forgotten most of them. Like because every weekend you'll be going out and just partying basically nearly every weekend. And yeah, some parties are wilder than others. You like you could be out Friday till Monday, and and um you just be going on a wild session, you know. And people, if people didn't have the money, you sometimes we had some money that might be covered in dye, and you'd be giving it to some people in the pub, and they'd be passing it over the counter, and they'd be cashing it all up, and so you're all enjoying it, you know, because it was like where we was from in Harlesden, everyone knew that we was doing robberies, and so it was no secret that like the pub knew, and probably even probably the old people that was in the pub, they're probably saying, "Oh, they're bloody gangsters! They've been at it again. They must have been out robbing the bank." But that's the way it goes, you know. It's just robbing and robbing and partying and just doing all that stuff. And I don't know what you're waiting for. Sometimes we're thinking to ourselves, and I think we thought, oh, I wonder when it's going to stop, all these robberies, because it looked like it was never going to stop for us unless we got bored of it or unless we got caught. And I was getting bored of it anyway, because you can never get enough, you know. So, however much money we got, I was always saying, oh yeah, you need some more, you need some more. Because if you've got 10 grand or 20 grand, you say, well, we can't do much with that. You might have to split it two or three ways. And it's good money for a couple of seconds work, a few seconds work, for a minute's work. It's good. But the risks are high, aren't they?
Yeah, yeah, well, for sure. I mean, this is it. Is I'm just thinking to give people, both sides of the coin. Is that about how long it would take you to do a job then? About you being in and out in about a
Yeah.
minute? Is that like what you were aiming for?
Sometime I think we done one. I think one robbery took about 20 seconds, and you just be in and out. And the guard was coming over towards me with the box, and I just told him to open the box, and he opened it and threw the bag of cash. I mean, there was 20 grand or 25 grand in it, and I just said thank you very much, and I flew off out the door. And I said, wow, that was so quick, you know. The motorbike was round the corner, and I just hopped on the bike and gone down the road, and that's it.
Yeah. Was that
So
about an average sort of take? I mean, again, I don't know how much you can say about this, but broadly speaking, when you had a take, was it about that mark, like 20 grand, 10, 20 grand, that sort of
yeah,
region?
sometimes you'd get less, sometimes you'd get more. You'd be happy when you got more, obviously, and like the Thomas Cooks, we used to get plenty of money out of them. And there's like there'd be travellers' checks stolen, and the foreign currency and the English cash, and it was good. It was a good run. Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, sometimes in the banks you only getting a few grand, and you might think, oh, what was the point in doing it? But you wouldn't care less anyway. If you got away with it at the end of the day, we say that's all that matters to us. Is that the main thing? The most important thing is that you get away. We said there's no point in doing the robbery because anyone could do a robbery. But if you can't get away with it, there's no point in doing it.
Yeah. And another thing with that, obviously, when you're robbing like a bank or something like this, I mean, um, obviously, I don't condone it, but I can get where you're coming from in the sense of, they got a lot of money, and a lot of times they rob in the public. So there's that side of it anyway. I mean, a lot of it's crooked, but if you look at it from the other point of view, when it comes to the individuals that you physically robbed, do you ever think like now if some of those people had like trauma or they had like some issue with like the intimidation, because there's
Mm,
obviously the side of it with the institution, but then there's a side of it with the individual, and if you get and I can sort of see it from both
yeah,
sides, if that makes sense.
mm, yeah. I don't never think about any of them. I don't care about. Didn't care less about them. I said they're working for anyone working in that industry. They're with a fair game to getting robbed. They said it's not their money, and the way I seen it, I said they shouldn't bother trying to protect their money because it's not theirs. But I know they're only doing it because they're in that's their job. But my job was to take it, and um, and I didn't feel sorry for none of them, and I didn't think about none of them. I know any traumas that they go through, I couldn't care less. Like I said, because what traumas they're going through, oh, well, that's the job. They put themselves in the firing line, didn't they? It's like that would be it's like if someone joins the army and they go to war and they're gonna have to put up with traumas. Then you expect to put up with traumas. You're a soldier, and so I say if you're in that business, then you suffer the same fate, ain't it?
Yeah, I get where you're coming from, man,
Yeah,
100%. I figured, I have heard you say in like other interviews and things, that type of thing, but I have to ask because it's part of the complete story, isn't it? I mean, it's
yeah, of course, yeah,
worth a mention. Yeah, I
yeah.
mean, so that's an insight into a little bit of an insight into the life and everything like that. What was the most? I mean, I don't know how much you can say about this one, so if it's not much, that's okay. But what was the most difficult one to plan? Or maybe we'll have to talk about this more broadly. But in terms of like the planning that goes into it, and you were saying you've been thinking about it for so long and everything like that. What was maybe the trickiest one to like figure out how to get in and out quick, or the most difficult one to plan, basically, however that came about?
Um, I think they were probably unless we just done it off the cuff, like we were just walking past and we decided to rob a place just in the instant. But then we still have to size everything up quick, and yeah, like how you're gonna how you have to think how you just got to think how you're gonna disappear because you've got to blend in, and so I think we just mastered it, and
Mm.
so we just yeah, so that's it.
Yeah,
Mm,
that's fair enough. That's fair enough. I mean, like I say, I don't know how much you can say about some of it. I know some of it is out there everywhere,
mm.
but there's other things where I think I want to be careful for you that nothing comes
It's
up
no
that
worries. You can ask whatever you want. It's because
yeah, I know, but it is that type of thing. I'm
mm,
still keeping that in mind. Obviously, I think people will want to know about the prison life as well. Obviously, a lot of people watching this will have been in there, so they'll know about it. But also, including people who are not familiar with that lifestyle. I mean, one of the things I'd like to get into is you've got all that time in a day, from a certain point of view, and you've got those years ahead of you. And I know you said earlier that you can't complain about it because you did the crime and all this sort of thing. But I'm also curious to get into like, because obviously a lot of people say about the fitness side when they're in there and keeping fit, and that's one way of passing the time. Obviously, some people study and they do things like that. I mean, it depends on the individual. But for yourself personally, what were some of your things that kept you sane, I guess? I mean, if you go in there, and you've got that many years rolling out in front of you, what were some of the things you would do that you don't mind mentioning to occupy
yeah,
your mind with
find
that much
yourself.
thinking space?
Yeah, you've got to find yourself a job when you're in the prison anyway. You've got to go to work. And
Mm.
is the screen froze? Are you hearing me, Liam?
Yeah, I still got you. I got you.
Okay. Yeah. When you're in prison, you have to work. You have to go to work. And so when I was in Whitemore, just soon after I'd been sentenced, I started doing some studies, and I started my GCSEs and English and maths and psychology, uh, and I was happy doing the education, and I think after doing the GCSEs and I passed my English and maths, and that's what that I it kind of like pushed me. That's what I wanted to do more of, more education. And so then, as the years rolled by after that, I was reading more and more books, and any books that I wanted, and then so I would pass my time reading the books, and they're like, if you ain't in your cell, if it's during the working day, you're going about your business, just going to work. Some people working as a cleaner, some people working the gym, some people doing education, and so I done a few courses in there, like building computers, how to repair computers, and all the other stuff, desktop publishing, website design, and all that stuff. And yeah, anything to pass the time. As long as I was learning something, then it kept me in a good frame of mind, and I was just studying all the time and reading about psychology or personal development books, and I got into a lot of personal development, and I started. Um, I was reading a few books, Awaken the Giant by Tony Robbins, and other stuff like that, and they just made me feel good, like picking up the tips from his personal development books, and I was reading about things there, doing firewalking, like, and then when I came out, I done because after I read about it in the book, that they done a firewalk at Tony Robbins event. I thought, wow, I'd like to do that. And I finally done it. I became a firewalk instructor, and so and there's other things as well. I was interested in hypnosis, um, and I studied that, and I got a diploma in hypnotherapy, and a couple of qualifications in that, and NLP. Uh, I got a diploma, but from NLP by Richard Bandler. He was the co-founder of NLP, and I went to see him, that was in London. He was there with Paul McKenna, and it was all personal. So all the personal development stuff that I was reading to make sure, because I said when I get out, I wanted to make sure that I don't end up coming back in here by the same thinking that got me in there. I had to make sure that I had I had better thoughts when I was outside to keep me on the straight and narrow. Mm,
Yeah, that's
mm,
powerful. That is, mate. To be fair, I mean, the concept of looking inwards and finding out more about yourself, finding out more about the world and everything. It's a powerful thing, and it sounds like it really changed your viewpoint. I think that's some really good advice for people right there as well.
mm.
Um,
And
so last couple. Oh, sorry. Go on, mate.
so that's what I was doing, and in the prison most of the time is you're either studying or reading stuff and going to the gym, and whatever job you're doing during the day. If it ain't a job, you're in full time education or stuff like that. Because in the last few years, I wouldn't hardly watch TV. I wouldn't watch it because you could turn off the TV sometime and you just listen to the people talking. Like you would watch the Houses of Parliament all the time. Sometimes you would watch them because if you wanted a good laugh, you could watch them, and you could just see the stuff they were coming out with all the time, and you would watch. Um, I would watch a TV anyway with the volume off, and so you're watching the body language and the expressions on people and all that kind of stuff. And I was reading books on body language, and so you become quite good at reading people. Just um, When it's a good skill to have because you're mixing with people and you're having to socialise with them all the time. And so if a person's saying something and if their body language doesn't tie up with what they're saying, then you have to beware, ain't it?
Yeah.
Mm.
So we're coming up on roughly the time that we were aiming for. So I'm going to wrap this up fairly soon with a couple of other things. One of those things is you said about the fire walking and that side of things. I mean, it's an incredible discipline. Is that something you want to touch on or you want to get involved in more? Because basically, what I'd like to find out here is going back to your life now. Obviously, you're doing the carpentry and you're doing that side of things. Are there other things that you want to do more with, like with the NLP or other things like that, to take that forward type of thing, or any other things that are lighting your fire from
Mm.
this point forward, if that makes sense?
When I done the fire walking course, I thought, oh, I'm going to become a fire walking instructor, and you think, oh, you'll be able to do that for a living, and because what it's just teaching people how to get over their fears to walk across the hot coal. That's what fire walking is about. And once they've done it, you're telling the people like, if you can walk over this fire, look how nervous you are before you walk over the fire, and you don't want to walk over it. Oh, you're thinking, oh, I'm going to get my feet burnt, and you walked over it, and you didn't burn your feet, and so look how you went for your goal, and imagine, look at the fears that are holding people back in their life. They don't go for this, they don't go for that job, they don't go for this job or whatever. They think, oh, I might not get it, I might not. And so they don't go for their goals because of the fear that holds them back. So that's why I done the fire walking course, and to make sure I didn't want to have no fears of anything. And but but you think you I thought if you could help people to do the same thing by becoming a fire walking instructor, but it's I haven't been able to set it up as the fire walking instructor. I've done a few fire walks with some other people, and I'm meant to be doing one in January as well. And the fella wants help to be doing it, and so I might be speaking at that event. And it was the same with the NLP. The NLP, I was learning the NLP to help me think better, better strategies and thinking, and the same with the hypnotherapy, and because you can help people and even helping yourself, like you've got to do positive self talk, and yeah, it's a lot of stuff.
It's amazing, mate. Absolutely amazing. Amazing work on yourself and amazing advice for people. Now, the last thing, and then we'll wrap this up because it's a good, good timeline, good content,
Okay.
like what we were saying before. Is there anything else you'd like to share with people that they can use to help themselves and that they can use in their lives? Any final words of advice with that before we wrap this up, please, mate?
Mm. Yeah, well, I could just say to them to just even though it's hard, you have to just think positive, and just stay away from the negative people. What watch what you be careful what you're watching, and who you're listening to, and someone's coming up whispering in your ear with some little plan to try and get rich. You want to knock them on the head, yeah, because they're they're only going down a one way road. The one way road is there they're going, and so you want to just keep on a positive thinking, and just keep going for your goals, And if you don't get that goal, go for another goal, make another goal, make another goal. Don't if you just if you wasn't able to fix, you have to. I've had so many goals in my life, and you end up getting this one and getting that one, and you forget about your goals. It's hard out here to keep focused on one thing, but you have to keep on going, and whatever goal it is.
Well, it's been an amazing talk today, mate. It's been, like we agreed at the beginning, it's been a good length for people to get a few life lessons. I mean, basically, that's what I was aiming for. There's a couple of life lessons, which we've had, more than a couple actually, and a couple of stories from, how your life has changed. So I'm very happy with it, mate. Like I say, I know you said before that you don't really do these much these days. So the fact you've made, if at all, actually, so the fact you've made the time for doing this one with me, I'm very grateful. And like I said, I'm just putting it out there to help people, and it is as simple as that. I've got my business, I've got other things I do, and I do these, sort of on the side, basically just to help people, inspire people, share some life lessons with people, and we've definitely done that today. So I guess the only thing for me to say is I'm grateful for your time, to be honest, mate. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks a lot, Liam.
Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe to the Simply Inspired YouTube channel, and there'll be more videos coming soon.